Prabu Langlangbuana was born in the early 9th century during a time of transition and consolidation in the Sunda-Galuh kingdom. His birth was shrouded in mystical omens. On the night he was born, the skies were unusually bright with a halo surrounding the moon, and his cries echoed like the wind through the forest canopy. His royal birth was greeted with both joy and awe, as sages and spiritualists interpreted these signs as an omen of a soul who would journey far, not only through lands, but through wisdom and spiritual truth. The name Langlangbuana can be interpreted from Old Sundanese or Old Javanese as the one who roams the world or the explorer of realms. This name would prove prophetic. From a young age, Langlangbuana displayed an intense curiosity and a yearning to understand the deeper meanings of life, nature, and the cosmos. Unlike many princes who were enamored with warfare or courtly pleasures, he often wandered into the wilderness accompanied only by trusted advisors, meditating under sacred trees and speaking with wandering monks. His father, a lesser-known king of the Galuh lineage, ensured that Langlangbuana received both royal education and spiritual training. His mother, said to be of noble birth from a mountain-dwelling tribe in the west, infused in him the love of nature and a fierce independence. While his lineage traced back to Retikandayan, the founder of Galuh, Langlangbuana did not immediately seek the throne. His ambition was never power for its own sake, but the pursuit of harmony between the divine, nature, and humankind. As he matured, his talents became undeniable. He was a skilled orator, a thoughtful strategist, and a lover of poetry. He could recite ancient mantras and also lead in mock battles. Priests believed him to be the reincarnation of a bodhisattva, or a rishi, from the age of Dwapara. These spiritual qualities, combined with his royal blood, made him the inevitable choice when the kingdom needed a leader who could unify hearts as well as territories. In his youth, Langlangbuana also experienced deep personal loss. His beloved sister was kidnapped by raiders and never found. This event shaped his sensitivity to suffering and his later emphasis on protective laws, particularly those that safeguarded women and the defenseless. It also contributed to his desire to explore distant lands, always hoping that one day he might discover her fate. Prabu Langlangbuana's rise to the throne was not marked by conquest, but by necessity and divine acknowledgement. Following a period of instability after the death of a previous ruler, possibly a cousin or uncle, conflict arose between two noble houses of Sunda-Galuh. The people, weary of infighting, turned to Langlangbuana, whose wisdom and neutrality made him the most acceptable figure to both factions. Spiritual leaders convened at Mount Padang and, after an elaborate meditation ritual, confirmed that the voice of the ancestors had chosen Langlangbuana as king. When Langlangbuana accepted the crown, he did so not with fanfare, but with solemn devotion. His coronation was held near the banks of the Kawulan River, at a sacred site marked by megaliths. Rather than boast, he delivered a speech urging his people to uphold Dharma and harmony with nature. He chose the title Prabu, not for dominion, but to remind himself and others that the king must be the foremost servant of the land and its people. Upon assuming the throne, one of his first acts was to unify local spiritual practices, which had grown fragmented due to regional differences. He summoned Hindu Brahmins and Buddhist monks to his court and proclaimed a royal decree respecting both paths, ensuring mutual tolerance. Temples, meditation halls, and places of nature worship were built or restored. This blend of statecraft and spirituality won him admiration from both elites and villagers. Prabu Langlangbuana also initiated legal reforms, drawing from ancient texts like the Arthashastra and local adat, customary laws. He promoted clear guidelines for trade, family rights, and environmental stewardship. Farmers were granted land rights, and forests were declared as sacred groves, protected from overharvesting. Under his rule, the Sundanese concept of Tri Tangtu di Buana, the harmony between spiritual, political, and agricultural forces, was deeply embedded in daily governance. His rule extended from the core territories of Galuh to parts of coastal Sunda through peaceful negotiation and alliances. He rarely waged war, choosing diplomacy over bloodshed. His charisma, spiritual gravitas, and vision for unity allowed him to build a kingdom that thrived without fear, a rare accomplishment in a time when power was often won with the sword. The reign of Prabu Langlangbuana is remembered as one of the golden ages of the Sunda-Galuh kingdom. With political stability firmly established, his administration turned its attention to enhancing the cultural and economic life of the realm. Roads were improved, facilitating trade routes between inland Galuh, the highlands of Priangan, and the Sunda coastal ports like Banten and Kiribati. These trade networks attracted merchants from Nusantara, India, and even distant China, bringing in not only goods but also stories, technologies, and philosophies. Langlangbuana actively patronized the arts. Under his rule, the classical Sundanese script, Aksara Sunda, was refined and inscribed onto palm leaves, copper plates, and temple walls. He encouraged the preservation of oral epics and ancestral tales by supporting bardic guilds and court poets. Ritual dance dramas such as Wayang Golek began taking shape in his time, blending Hindu cosmology with local myths. The king himself was known to participate in court recitals, reciting hymns to Shiva and Batari Sunanambu, the divine mother of Sunda. Agriculture flourished through royal irrigation projects, particularly in the fertile river valleys around Chamas and Tasik Malaya. The king commissioned sacred dams and canals, believed to be blessed by Dewi Shri, the goddess of rice. Inscriptions from this period mention that rice yields doubled, and famines were nearly unheard of. The abundance of food led to population growth and urban expansion, with new settlements bearing names derived from royal virtues, such as Kurtamandala, land of welfare, and Santosa, peaceful. The spiritual landscape during his reign was rich and diverse. Pilgrims from across the archipelago visited sacred sites like Mount Galunggung, Mount Kakrabuana, and Lake Talaga Warna. Prabu Langlangbuana often retreated to these sites in meditative seclusion, believing that a true king must remain connected to the unseen world. He popularized a spiritual practice combining yoga, prayer, and ritual fasting called Tapa Langlong, later named in his honor. This discipline aimed to cultivate inner vision, harmony with the elements, and service to the people. What made his golden reign truly shine was his philosophy of Karahayuan, or collective well-being. He believed that the health of the land, the joy of the people, and the balance of the cosmos were intricately linked. This concept influenced every level of government, from village councils to royal policy. Under Langlangbuana, temples and marketplaces coexisted, priests and merchants thrived side by side, and the boundaries between the sacred and the civic were gently blurred into unity. One of the defining aspects of Prabu Langlangbuana's reign was his profound connection to the supernatural realm. His mystical practices were as integral to his leadership as his political acumen. Born under a prophesied sign, it was believed that Langlangbuana had divine favor from birth, and this connection to the gods was said to give him extraordinary powers. His supernatural abilities were said to be activated through intense meditation, secret rituals, and an unwavering commitment to the principles of balance and harmony. The king's mystical prowess became legendary across the archipelago, particularly his ability to communicate with celestial beings and control natural forces. One of the most notable tales was that Langlangbuana could summon the winds to calm storms or create rainfall to nourish his people during times of drought. His connection to the water spirits was especially revered, as he was believed to possess the ability to purify rivers and lakes, turning polluted waters into life-giving sources once again. Villages and towns along these rivers built small shrines dedicated to him, believing that the king's presence could restore balance to both nature and spirit. Langlangbuana's most revered spiritual artifact was the Karis Langlangbuana, a sacred dagger believed to contain both physical and mystical powers. This Karis was said to have been forged in the flames of a sacred volcano and tempered with the waters of the sacred lakes. It was more than a weapon. It was a symbol of his authority over the natural world, wielded only by the king in moments of profound importance, such as during battle or sacred ceremonies. The Karis was also believed to hold the power to sever negative spiritual ties, protect the realm from evil forces, and bind the spirits of ancestors to the land. As the king aged, he passed the Karis Langlangbuana to his chosen successor, a sign of the transfer of both temporal and mystical power. In addition to his physical and spiritual powers, Langlangbuana's reign was marked by an extraordinary degree of personal charisma and wisdom. He was known to frequently engage in deep philosophical discussions with his court scholars, particularly about the nature of the universe and human destiny. One of his most famous teachings was the Wayang Langlangbuana, a type of shadow play that combined storytelling, philosophy, and spiritual teachings. The performances were designed to reflect the cosmic struggles between good and evil, human limitations, and the eternal search for enlightenment. These performances were not only a source of entertainment, but also a means of spiritual education for his people. Yet, despite his mighty abilities and revered status, Langlangbuana never allowed his mystical powers to isolate him from his people. He was known to frequently mingle with common folk, offering guidance to farmers, advising merchants, and counseling the downtrodden. His role as both king and spiritual guide fostered an unparalleled sense of loyalty and admiration from his subjects, who saw in him not only a ruler but a protector of their very souls. Langlangbuana's mystical practices and legendary strength were vital in securing his place in history, and his legacy is still felt today in the spiritual traditions of the Sunda-Galuh region. Pilgrims still visit his shrines, and many families hold a Keris Langlangbuana as a sacred heirloom passed down through generations, believing that its power continues to protect the lineage. Prabu Langlangbuana's reign was not only characterized by his mystical practices, but also by his dedication to the prosperity and well-being of his kingdom. His governance was marked by a long period of peace, which was a rare achievement in an era when many kingdoms were in constant conflict. Langlangbuana's ability to maintain stability in a turbulent time came from his exceptional diplomatic skills and his deep understanding of the needs of his people. Langlangbuana's policies focused on strengthening the agricultural foundation of his kingdom. He oversaw the construction of advanced irrigation systems that allowed the fertile lands of Sunda-Galuh to thrive. Farmers had access to well-maintained canals and reservoirs, ensuring a steady supply of water for crops year-round. This contributed to an era of prosperity where grain, rice, and other vital crops were abundant, feeding not only his people but also providing trade goods for neighboring kingdoms. His subjects were not just workers. They were part of a well-structured, harmonious system that encouraged communal cooperation and shared benefits. In addition to his agricultural reforms, Langlangbuana was also known for his focus on trade and commerce. He understood that a prosperous kingdom required more than just food security. To that end, he built ports and strengthened sea routes that allowed for the exchange of goods with distant regions, including the island kingdoms of Sumatra, Borneo, and beyond. Through these trade routes, Sunda-Galuh became a central hub for the exchange of spices, textiles, precious metals, and cultural knowledge. Merchants from far and wide visited the kingdom, bringing with them innovations in art, technology, and philosophy. This influx of new ideas helped to enrich the culture and knowledge base of the kingdom. Education was another area in which Langlangbuana made great strides. His court became a center of learning, attracting scholars, philosophers, and religious leaders from across the archipelago. He established institutions that provided both secular and religious education, ensuring that his people were equipped with the knowledge needed to maintain the kingdom's prosperity. Langlangbuana himself was a patron of the arts, supporting the creation of literature, music, and visual arts that celebrated the kingdom's values. The era under his rule saw a flourishing of literature, with epic tales and poems written to commemorate his reign, some of which are still preserved in ancient manuscripts today. Despite his peaceful rule, Langlangbuana was not blind to the threats that loomed outside his borders. While he sought diplomacy and cooperation, he was also a strategic thinker when it came to defending his realm. His military prowess, enhanced by his mystical abilities, ensured that any would-be invaders were met with fierce resistance. It is said that Langlangbuana's strategic insight allowed him to foresee potential threats, allowing his generals to thwart enemy attacks before they could even begin. His military campaigns, when they did occur, were swift and decisive, rarely resulting in extended conflict, further cementing his reputation as a king of peace. Langlangbuana's reign marked a golden age for Sunda-Galuh, where his policies of peace, prosperity, and spiritual growth ensured that the kingdom flourished. His rule provided a model of leadership that balanced the material and spiritual needs of the people, something that would be remembered for generations to come. His contributions to agriculture, trade, education, and culture became the foundation upon which future rulers would build, ensuring his place as one of the most revered kings in the region's history. Prabu Langlangbuana's reign was not only remarkable for his peacekeeping and prosperity, but also for his deep connection to the mystical realm. His spiritual gifts, believed to be bestowed upon him by divine forces, were central to both his rule and his legacy. Langlangbuana was said to possess extraordinary powers that transcended the mortal world, a trait that only heightened his status as a legendary king. His magical abilities were considered a divine blessing that enabled him to rule with unparalleled wisdom and insight. Among the many stories surrounding Langlangbuana, one of the most notable was his ability to communicate with the spirits of the ancestors and the deities of the Hindu-Buddhist pantheon. It was said that he could enter deep trances, during which he would receive visions and guidance. These mystical experiences were not just personal but also practical, as he used his visions to make important decisions for the kingdom. His wisdom was considered to come directly from the gods, and the people viewed his leadership as not only political, but also spiritual in nature. It was believed that his connection to the supernatural world ensured that his rule would be prosperous and just. In addition to his spiritual abilities, Langlangbuana was the keeper of several sacred heirlooms, objects imbued with great power. These heirlooms, passed down through the generations of Sunda-Galuh rulers, were believed to contain the spiritual essence of the kingdom's founders. The most famous of these relics was the Keris Tunjungali, a legendary weapon said to grant its wielder invincibility in battle. This heirloom was considered a symbol of the kingdom's enduring strength and divine favor. Langlangbuana, as the holder of the Keris, was believed to be the living embodiment of the kingdom's power and divine right to rule. Other sacred heirlooms included ancient manuscripts containing divine wisdom and chants that were passed down through the royal family. These texts, often written in a combination of Old Javanese and Sanskrit, were said to be the key to unlocking the full potential of the mystical forces that guided the kingdom. The manuscripts were not merely religious texts, but were also seen as a form of governance, providing the rulers with the knowledge to maintain harmony in the kingdom. Langlangbuana would often perform rituals to honor these heirlooms, ensuring that their power remained strong and that the kingdom continued to thrive under his protection. The sacredness of Langlangbuana's rule was further reinforced by the belief that his bloodline was divinely chosen. His family, known as the Sunda-Galuh dynasty, was thought to be directly descended from gods, with each ruler chosen to carry on the divine legacy. This belief in the divine right of kings was central to the political system of the kingdom, with the royal family seen as the earthly representatives of the gods. Langlangbuana's rule, therefore, was not only seen as a continuation of the dynasty, but also as the fulfillment of a divine mission to protect and guide the people of Sunda-Galuh. Langlangbuana's connection to the mystical world and his possession of sacred heirlooms made him a ruler unlike any other in the region. His abilities, both supernatural and strategic, helped him govern wisely and protect his kingdom from both internal and external threats. The mystical elements of his reign added to his legendary status, with his name forever etched in the annals of history as a king who embodied both earthly power and divine favor. As with all great rulers, the time eventually came for Prabu Langlangbuana to step down from the throne. His reign, which had spanned many years and brought unprecedented prosperity to Sunda-Galuh, was marked by a peaceful transition of power. It was said that Langlangbuana, he recognized that no ruler could govern forever, and that the future of the kingdom depended on the strength of the next generation. Before his abdication, Langlangbuana called upon his most trusted advisors and spiritual leaders to perform a great ritual. This ritual, performed at a sacred site within the kingdom, was designed to ensure the smooth transition of power. It is said that during the ceremony, Langlangbuana communicated with the gods, seeking their approval for the transfer of the throne. The divine blessing was believed to have been granted, and the kingdom was assured that the future ruler would inherit the protection and wisdom of the gods. After the ceremony, Langlangbuana officially passed the throne to his successor, a young and capable leader who had been groomed for this moment. His departure from the throne was not marked by any great struggle or conflict, as his successor was widely accepted by the people. Langlangbuana's final years were spent in meditation and reflection, and he withdrew from the public eye to focus on his spiritual practices. During this time, he is said to have spent much of his time at the sacred temples and meditation halls within the kingdom, seeking to deepen his connection with the divine and prepare for the next phase of his existence. As Langlangbuana aged, the signs of his mystical powers began to wane, signaling that his time on earth was drawing to a close. However, even in his final moments, he was said to have remained calm and composed, ready to face whatever came next. His death was not a sudden event, but rather a gradual passing, with his last days marked by a sense of peace and acceptance. His passing was a significant event, with the entire kingdom mourning the loss of their beloved ruler. It is said that upon his death, a great eclipse occurred in the skies, signaling the end of an era and the passing of a king who had been both a mortal ruler and a divine being in the eyes of his people. Langlangbuana's legacy did not end with his death. His name continued to resonate through the ages, and the rituals and practices he established were passed down to future generations. His successors upheld the traditions and policies he had set in motion, ensuring that his vision for the kingdom would endure. Langlangbuana's death marked the end of one chapter in the history of Sunda-Galuh, but also the beginning of a new era, one that carried with it the wisdom and spiritual teachings of the great king. Even centuries after his death, Prabu Langlangbuana's influence continues to be felt in the modern world. The legacy of his reign, which was defined by prosperity, peace, and spiritual depth, has left an indelible mark on the cultural and historical landscape of the region. Today, in the present-day regions of West Java, Where the kingdom of Sunda-Galuh once stood, Langlangbuana's influence can still be seen in the cultural practices and traditions that have been preserved through the centuries. Many of the sacred sites associated with his reign, such as the ancient temples and meditation halls, are still visited by those seeking spiritual guidance and connection to the past. These sites have become important cultural landmarks, attracting pilgrims and historians alike, eager to learn more about the king who ruled with both earthly wisdom and divine insight. In addition to his spiritual legacy, Langlangbuana's contributions to agriculture, trade, and governance continue to be studied by modern scholars. His policies of economic prosperity, trade expansion, and education laid the groundwork for the development of the region, and his reign is often cited as a golden age in the history of Sunda. Researchers and historians still look to his reign as a model of effective governance, where the needs of the people were prioritized and the kingdom thrived in all aspects of life. Langlangbuana's name is also revered in local folklore and legends, where he is depicted as a ruler who bridged the gap between the physical and spiritual realms. His story is told in epic poems and songs passed down through generations, and his image is often portrayed in artworks and sculptures. In these cultural expressions, Langlangbuana is celebrated not only for his earthly achievements, but also for his divine connection, which made him a timeless figure whose influence transcended the limitations of his time. The modern world may have changed drastically since Langlangbuana's reign, but the essence of his leadership, his mystical powers, and his enduring legacy continue to inspire those who look back on his reign. Prabu Langlangbuana remains a symbol of what is possible when a ruler combines wisdom, spirituality, and a deep commitment to the well-being of his people. His reign, though long past, continues to echo through history as a shining example of what true leadership looks like.